implication. In a letter that he wrote in August 1970 and addressed to Yevhen Adelheim, Stus expressed gratitude to the critic for his kind review and tried to explain the nature of his convictions. Apparently, one of the criticisms leveled against the poetry of Stus, which became the overt reason for preventing its publication, had to do with pessimism and its asocial nature. I'll just read the first line of the quote. My optimism-pessimism consists of this. It is not I who live, but I live through myself. And then he goes on to speak about nature, the earth, God, and so on. And therefore individual human existence must continue as long as it has been allotted a given time. Stus's comments, besides intimating his acceptance of the division of life into spirit and its object, brings to mind Skovoroda's concept that man, as a physical reality, is merely a perishable shadow cast by the true man, who in turn is a reflection of the Creator. In this context, it is worth noting that in another poem from the Joyful Cemetery, Strive, you who are wearied by life, the speaker, while standing at the edge of a phantasmagoric pond, and he looks into this pond, proclaims, you are the shadow of a shadow's shadow. Tish, kini, kini, kini. The positive and antinomic optimism-pessimism defended in the letter to Adelheim reflects the dualism of Stus's oeuvre, which constantly mixes poems expressing dark existential apprehensions with poems articulating the ecstatic joy that is the unmistakable fruit of mysticism. This paradoxical stance is manifested throughout the collection Winter Trees. Here is a poem dating from June 1969, which begins with the lines, forgive me my joys and my troubles, daruйте радості мої і клопоти мої. Playful and prayer-like, the poem expresses gratitude to... Am I getting... Why don't you read the... I won't read the quote anymore. The poem expresses gratitude to an unnamed other who is manifested in yet many others. Given that spring rivulets and the sun are mentioned in the quatrains preceding the ones that I cite here, it might very well be that the poem celebrates the arrival of spring. But the ubiquity of the golden hem, izolota tvoya haba, brings to mind Skovoroda's description of divine wisdom wearing thousand-faced vestments and garments. More importantly, however, the reference to the sacred warmth of the water appears as an intimation of baptism. The ingenuousness of the voice also evokes the theme of becoming childlike, which plays an important role in mystical writings. Baptism, in the mystical sense, corresponds to a type of regeneration that is not merely verbal or intellectual grasp of certain principles, nor merely a superficial conversion, but rather that deeply realized, radical and thoroughgoing change in one's mode of consciousness, which is both the beginning and the center of the mystical life. The ultimate goal of the mystic is the attainment of vision, vidinya, a theological metaphor for eschatological participation in God. Christian contemplative exercises are guided by the fundamental article of faith, derivative from Genesis, that each human being is made in the likeness of God. And for that reason, self-reflection and the study of the self-reflection or the study of icons is very important in the mystical exercise. Stus's obra, and especially the collection A Time of Creativity and palimpsest, abound with imagery of water. Ponds, rivers, lakes, wells, sources, fountains, the sea, frozen, and even muddy water holes. And even a puddle serve as privileged texts in his poetry, a privileged sites. In some texts, the water imagery merely frames the speaker's stream of consciousness or acts as a metaphor for literary sources or the flow of time. But there is a significant cluster of poems where a body of water functions as the place for encounters with the self. Stus often plays with the tenuous boundary between narcissistic gazing and contemplation of self. Consider, for example, the following poem, which was written in solitary confinement on July 6, 1972. О, не зови мене, не клич мене, це не по-чесному, благаю. Тебе ж у радості вітаю я, тебе і в горі я вітаю. Молю, не розсипай з екзицею те перламутрове скигління, постань на всі віки жар птицею, як пізніх років воскресіння. Не наворожуй сподівань нічних, не нагадай про краплі щастя, призабутий плач, мосянжний сміх, почути, бачити не вдасться. Немов відбиток на воді тремкі, що непочезним хвилеводді, пробудь мені солоні і гіркі, у богонародженій уроді. A recurrent feature in Stus's poetry is the ambiguity with respect to the constitution of the speaking voice and the addressee. In this poem, present tense narration conceals the gender of both. The noun skihlinya, which appears in the second quatrain, denotes squealing or whining. It is often used in reference to the crying sound of the seagull, meva or chaika, a feminine noun. This possible allusion to a bird is sustained by the speaker's request that the addressee assume instead the characteristic of a firebird, žar ptiča, another feminine noun. Up to this point, the qualities of the addressee are more audible than visible. In the third quatrain, the allusion to personal and perhaps erotic pleasure, which the speaker longs for but cannot recuperate, seem to contradict the request enunciated at the outset.